Hey everyone and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to be going through all the books that I am hopefully going to be reading in March. So if this is the first time that you've seen one of my TBR game videos, I'll leave a link to the playlist in the description in case you wanted to check it out, if you wanted to watch all of the episodes from the beginning. But yes, today I'm going to be playing another round of I'm a BookTuber, Get Me Out of Here. And before we get on to my March TBR, I'm going to start by going through and recapping how I did with February's TBR. And honestly, the answer was not great. There were 3 books from my January TBR that I carried over into February, and then of the books on my actual February TBR, I read 2 of them, I think. So of the books that were actually on my February TBR, I read Killjoy by Holly Jackson, which I gave 4 stars and really enjoyed. I also reread Crescent City Book 1, House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas, which I again enjoyed and gave 4 stars. And then I decided to go straight into House of Sky and Breath, which is what I'm currently reading at the time that I'm filming this. That technically wasn't on my TBR, but when I finished my reread of House of Earth and Blood, I thought, you know what, I might as well go straight into book 2 before I see any spoilers. So I'm hoping that I'll finish that either today or tomorrow, and then it does mean that I'll be carrying over 2 books into March. So Elantris by Brandon Sanderson and One Last Summer by Rebecca Searle. I'm hoping I can read both of those in the first week of March, which will leave the rest of the month for me to finish my March TBR. So we'll see how it goes. But without further ado, let's go with roll number 1. So here we go with roll number 1, which is a 2, 1, 2, which is thriller. So as you'll have seen, for roll number 1, we landed on thriller, and for this, I'm going with Final Girls by Riley Sager. Almost forgot the name of the book then, but this is one of Riley Sager's earlier books. I have read 3 of Riley Sager's books. I've read Home Before Dark, Lock Every Door, and Survive the Night, and I enjoyed all 3 of them. So I'm excited to see what I think of this one. This is a library copy. I don't know if you can see it's a little bit shiny because it's in the plastic covering, but I picked up both this and also The Last Time I Lied, I think is the name of the other book, which are the 2 books that I have left to read from Riley Sager. So I thought I would try and read both of them in a reading vlog and then maybe rank all of Riley Sager's books, because yeah, I'll have read all of them. So I thought that might be something cool that I could try and do in March if I do manage to get around to this one. From what I understand about the plot of this book, it follows a group of girls who are part of this support group. You know when you're watching a horror movie and quite often you'll get to the end of the horror movie and there'll be one character, usually a girl, who is the sole survivor? This book is about those final girls. Don't know if I've done a very good job of explaining the plot for this book, but yeah, like I said, I have enjoyed all of the Riley Sager books that I've read so far, and because this is one of his earlier books, I'm a little bit nervous, I think, because I don't know whether I'm gonna like it as much. I'm sure I've heard mixed reviews for this, as people either seem to love it or hate it. So yeah, excited to give it a go. Okay, roll number 2 is a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is challenge. And the challenge is highest rated on TBR. So as you will have seen, roll number 2 landed on challenge, and the challenge was to read the highest rated book on my TBR. So what I did is I went onto Goodreads and I organised my to read shelf based on highest average rating, and then I kept scrolling down until I reached a book that I do already own, because I didn't want to have to buy a book to fill the prompt. But the book that it landed on was Know My Name by Chanel Miller, which I do actually own the audiobook for, and I think it's actually also narrated by the author. I'm actually really glad that this came up because I haven't read a non-fiction book in a really long time, and of the people that I know who have read this book, everyone has said that it's one of their favourite books. I'm pretty sure that I saw this on several favourite books of the year lists last year, so I'm really intrigued about it and to see what I think of it. I believe this is about a woman who was sexually assaulted, and her impact statement that was read out in court ended up going viral when it was posted to BuzzFeed, and she decided to waiver her right to remain anonymous to speak about what happened. And I think the California law ended up being changed as a result of this book or something like that, or as a result of this impact statement. So yeah, really, really interested in this one. I've had it on my Audible library for a while, but have just not got around to reading it. So I'm really glad that this TBR game is giving me that push to finally pick it up. Okay, so here we go with roll number 3, I think this is, which is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, which is fantasy. So as you will have seen, roll number 3 landed on fantasy. And for this, I am finally going to be reading Jade War by Fonda Lee, which is the second book in the Greenbone saga. I read the first book, Jade City, back in, I think it was August or September, and I loved it. It was one of my favourite books of last year, so I'm really annoyed at myself that I still haven't got round to continuing the series. And it's reaching a point now where, because it's been about 6 months, I feel like I'm starting to forget details from the first book, so I want to get around to this soon, hopefully in March, before I end up forgetting stuff. For anyone who doesn't know, this series is set in a world where you have this substance called jade, which is kind of like a jewel that is mined, and there are people in this world who can harness the power of jade, and it gives them superhuman powers. There are also people who are immune to jade and who aren't affected by it, and then there are people who, if they haven't had the right training and they touch jade, then they become addicted to it like it's a drug. We follow a few different characters in the first book who are all members of this same family, and this family is one of 2 clans that control the trade of jade from this city, which is, I guess, like the centre of the jade industry. There's a lot of family drama and there's a lot of politics, which is what I love. I love political fantasies. I say this all the time on my channel, and I am so excited to finally get round to the second book because it's been a long time coming, let's be honest. For anyone who's wondering, this is the Illumicrate special edition, which has the most beautiful stenciled edges, and so I am actually a little bit scared to read this edition because I obviously don't want to damage it. Hopefully that won't happen though. Okay, so roll number 4 is a 3. 1, 2, 3, which is another challenge, and the challenge, if I can get it, is lowest rated on TBR. Okay, so I promise I did actually shuffle the cards before I started playing the game, but yeah, for roll number 4 we landed on challenge again, and the challenge prompt was to read the lowest rated book on my TBR, so I did the same again. I went onto Goodreads and I organised my wanna read shelf based on average rating, and I kept scrolling until I came across a book that I do already own, either physically or on my Kindle, and the book that is the lowest rated on my TBR, according to Goodreads, is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This is, I believe, a gothic horror about a woman called Noemi, I think is how you pronounce her name, and she receives a letter from her cousin at the start of the book who has recently got married, and she is convinced that her new husband is trying to kill her. So Noemi travels to their huge mansion in the middle of nowhere to try and investigate what's happening, and I think weird stuff is happening. That is the answer. I think this is also set in Mexico in the 1950s, and I don't know why this only has a 3.69 average rating. It's not super low, but I'm sure it had quite a lot of hype when it came out, so I'm hoping I do enjoy it. I'm hoping it has really good atmosphere. If you've read it, then let me know what you think and whether you think it would be a book that I'll enjoy, but I'm pretty sure this is only about 300 pages as well, so I'm hoping that I can read it quite quickly. Okay, so I don't think this is going to be the final roll. It's a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is a star. And the prompt is read a new release. So roll number 5 came up as another challenge, and the challenge prompt this time was to read a new release, so a book that's been published in the last 2 years. For this, I've decided to go for Count Your Lucky Stars by Alexandria Bellfleur, which I think was published last month. It only came out this year. It's the 3rd book in the Written in the Stars series, which is one of my favourite romance series. I've read the first 2 books, and they are companion novels, novels, so you don't have to read them in order if you don't want to, but I have been reading them in order and I have really enjoyed the first 2 books. So this is one of my most anticipated books of the year. I am going to listen to the audiobook because it's available on Scribd, and I listened to the first 2 books on audio and enjoyed them. I think it's the same narrator as well. This is a sapphic romance that I think is also a second chance romance, which is the only thing I'm a little bit nervous about because I don't usually like second chance romances, but I'm sure I heard the author say that there isn't really much of a focus on how the 2 characters started and why they broke up. Like, the reason that I don't usually like second chance romances is because if I agree with why 2 characters broke up in the first place, then I don't want them to get back together. But I'm hoping that that's not going to be the case with this one. I have seen a few reviews already that have been really positive from people who have read the other books in the series, so hoping I do end up really loving this one. Okay, so this should hopefully be the final roll, and it is a 5. So 1, 2, 5. So that is my official March TBR. I feel like it's a shorter one this month, but I'm kind of glad because I do have some chunky fantasy books that I want to read next month, and I'm hoping that I can break up the fantasy books with some thrillers and with some romances and some audiobooks, and that'll keep me motivated to carry on reading, because I'm not gonna lie, my reading so far this year has been good, but also I've only had 1 5-star read so far this year, and then I had another that was a 4.5. So of the 20 plus books that I've read so far this year, only 2 of them have the potential to end up on my favourites of the year list, which I'm kind of sad about, but I'm hoping that I might find some new favourites in my March TBR. The only readathon that I am thinking about taking part in March is the Magical Readathon that's hosted by G at Book Roast. I haven't actually watched the announcement video the whole way through yet, so that is on my list to do maybe today or maybe like later in the week, but I'm hoping that I can fit some of these books into that readathon. Otherwise though, I think that brings me to the end of the video, so thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. Let me know what books are on your March TBR, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and click subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Bye.